Hey listeners, it's Paul Andriola here. Why not join our community at Small Cap Discoveries, where we offer our members direct access to some of the best microcap investment opportunities available. Our members are getting access to premium microcap financings, research reports, and direct access to management. Sign up today at www.smallcapdiscoveries.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Small Cap Discoveries conference call. Today on our call, we have the CEO, Joey Fearn, and the CFO, Vish Kumar from Fab-Form Industries. Fab-Form trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol FBF. The company is currently trading at $1.55 with about 9 million shares outstanding, or about a $14 million market cap. I'd now like to hand it over to Paul Andriola.
Hey, thanks a lot, Trevor. Yeah, real happy to have Joey and Vish with us today. Guys, Fab-Form, we've talked about Fab-Form a lot in the past. These guys were kind enough to come and join us at our conference, last year. So there's a few of you guys that may know the story, but for those that don't, real happy to have the guys here to talk about this. Now, you guys know that I've talked a lot about the construction industry and some of the issues that we're facing here in North America. So I think it's timely to get Joey and the team here. So Joey, thanks for joining us today. You've got a presentation, so I'm just going to hand it over to you and let you handle the presentation.
Okay. Well, thanks, Paul and Trevor, for letting us be here. And I know on YouTube, we're calling these things as CEO updates, but I felt that we've never done this before, this is more of an introductory than an update on what we're doing. So I thought I'd spend a bit of time on our history and what we've done and where we're going and things of that nature. But basically, Fab-Form Industries, we've been around for quite some time developing innovative ways to nodulate with the ground. So a big challenge with construction is working off of an excavation, because the excavations are never flat. And it's always been a challenge in construction is how do you effectively tame the ground? So why the hell did we get into this incredibly archaic and slow to change industry? Why did we start? We talked about this at your presentation here, but this photo speaks volumes, because this is what actually really did start the company. So this is 1987 in Vancouver, and this is, or was, and is still today, typical construction methods. So what you need to understand, the first product that we created is in regards to footings. So footings disperse the load of any home, right? So you'll have a concrete wall, and then the footing will be wider than that wall to disperse the loads amongst the soil. And so what you can see in this photo here is how these guys with great shorts have designed their footings. So what they've done is basically any scrap piece of wood that they could find, they threw it on the ground, put some wood stakes into it, and that's containing their footing. To contain the concrete for their wall, they did the same thing, just big sheets of beautiful plywood, which are a lot more expensive today than they were back then. Threw them up there, put wood everywhere, 2 pieces of wood on each side, 24 inches. And once this concrete was in, the next day, after they had their beers, would have torn everything out, and all of that wood would have gone into the garbage, all of it, because you're not going to reuse concrete stained wood in your home. So Rick, the founder of the company, looked at this and said, there's got to be a better way. This is incredibly wasteful. So you'd think that this is back in the 80s. This is what you drive by a job site today. This is the same thing what you'll see. Footings, massive amounts of wood just being chopped up. All of this is going to be thrown out. When they're trying to nodulate over uneven ground, they're just taking little strips of lumber and trying to scribe that to match uneven excavations. This is a commercial site where they've built plywood forms, reinforced them. They placed the concrete, and what happened is this formwork is actually starting to fail here. So what they did to solve this problem is grab bricks of cured concrete from somewhere else in the site, threw it up against the plywood forms to prevent this concrete from failing. After this, some poor guy is going to have to take this out and remove it to strip the formwork. So this is the industry that we're still in today. Home that you're in right now, Paul, Bish, you for sure, is sitting in a pool of water. We dig down in colder climates. We have to dig down a certain amount for frost, and that's where all of your water is going to be, is right at the footing. So right now we're pouring concrete directly onto soil, and you don't know that. You've just focused on your granite countertop, but at the base of your home is most likely sitting in water, and that's why we have so much mold and mildew in our basements, is because we have exposed concrete right where all the water is in our home. So what we created after seeing all this waste in the industry first product that we created. And I thought I would just run through our website. We are working on our brand new website and online store that's coming up shortly. But just so everyone can see what we've done and it's easy to follow along, I thought I would just go through our website. But basically, the first product we created was Fastfoot. And this is just a woven polyethylene that gets stapled to 2x4s. And the fabric will contour uneven excavations. So that's a residential footing there. That's maybe 12 inches deep, and that's formed with just using a single 2x4. So you're greatly reducing the amount of lumber that you need to bring to a site. These pads, that's 4 feet deep, and that's done with a 2x8 and 2x4. And all of the lumber that you're seeing here is clean. There's no concrete splash because it's protected by the Fastfoot. So that can all be reused later on in the build. So none of this is going into the garbage, which is huge. In residential applications, we talked about, the concrete being exposed soil. So we're consolidating, keeping the concrete away from water that's standing on the ground. So you're not having, code stipulates that you have to damp proof a wall. Concrete wall, you have to damp proof. Underneath your slab, you have to damp proof. But the footings where all the moisture is, there's nothing in the code that says it needs to be protected from ground moisture. It's crazy. So Fastfoot also in really hot climates like Texas, the soil will actually suck the water, the moisture out of your concrete, reducing the strength of the concrete. So Fastfoot in really hot climates is an advantage as well. Keeps moisture in the concrete and lets the concrete actually cure stronger. So this is just the first product that we came up with. Really, really simple, stupid idea. Reduces the amount of lumber that you need to use. Lumber stays clean. It nodulates over uneven ground. If this was lumber, they'd be spending hours trimming the blocks up. Steps, it's perfect. And then when you get into big commercial applications, this is where it gets a little interesting. So just on this job alone, this is maybe 3 feet deep. Guys that are in the concrete industry, they look at this and they assume it's photoshopped because they've got 2 stakes driven into the ground to support something that's 24 feet long with a single steel pin here. And the reason that this works is hoop tension. I won't get into it too much, but basically, typically your concrete loads are always horizontal. In this application, when you're using Fastfoot, your loads are actually coming out at a 45-degree angle. And that reduces the lateral loads on your skeleton or your formwork here by up to 75%. So it's a pretty compelling product, very simple idea. And that's the first product that we came up with. After that, we thought, if you've got a column or something or a low beam in a foundation, you need to create a pad, a concrete pad. This is another simple idea. Typically, they would take a 2x12, they'd cut it into 4 little squares, screw it together, stake it into the ground, and fill it with concrete. Why, instead of all of that, we have a bag with a zipper on it. You can put your rebar in, place the concrete, and then vibrate it. So something that would usually take maybe 15 minutes and $20, $30 worth of lumber, you just drop this on the ground in 5 seconds and fill it with concrete. Again, simple idea. It costs nothing to produce and saves the contractor a lot of money. You can imagine big solar installations, projects where you've got hundreds of pads. This has huge applications for those resources. This is easily, it's maybe $1,000 worth of fast pads. You're talking maybe 10,000 worth of labor and materials on something like this. Pretty compelling. Now, the other products that we created from there are all in regards to insulated concrete forms. And that's a big part of our business. And it does require a bit of explaining what an ICF is, but basically, that's an ICF. Now, these products, they've been around for 30 years. You go back and forth who created them. Some say it was a Canadian, some say it was a German. That has yet to be confirmed who created it. But right now, there's about 6 major manufacturers in North America, and they're all producing an ICF. They all have pluses and minuses, but basically, it's 2 pieces of styrofoam. I got a wall of it right behind here. 2 pieces of styrofoam that you fill with concrete and rebar. So it acts as your form structure. So typically, this is done with plywood forms. If you drive by a job site, you'll see plywood forms. So replacing the plywood with insulation. The wall structure itself is the concrete, reinforced concrete. The insulation is the formwork as well, so it's insulating that concrete. And that foam acts as a vapor barrier. And embedded into the foam itself are plastic ties. Depending on the manufacturer, they're every 6 or 8 inches. And those ties hold the concrete pressure, and they allow you to attach siding, any sort of siding or finish to that ICF wall. So this was an emerging product. I mean, it's a growing market for sure. ICFs, it's still in its infancy even after 30 years, but welcome to construction. But anyone that was using FastFoot or FastPad at the time, this is a decade ago, was using ICFs, quote unquote green builders that were using our products. So that's when we started looking at ICFs and we started seeing some real inefficiencies in that market as well. So the first product that we came out with for making ICFs more efficient, and this is what lots of people say, we don't make our own ICF block. We could, it's a fairly competitive market. It's almost going to be a commodity product sooner than later. We just make everyone's product better, basically. So the first system that we created with ICFs is this bracing system. So with the ICF walls, it's just styrofoam. So you need to ensure that those walls are straight before you pour concrete into them. So this system, anything that you see with steel here is our product. We have a Zont bracket here that allows you to attach lumber to the wall. This is a drill adjustable turnbuckle that allows you to push the wall in and out. It's funny enough, the only drill adjustable turnbuckle in the world. We've been using turnbuckles for thousands of years, and we were the first ones to create a drill adjustable one. And this is our ZAT walkway bracket. And this is an industry first. It's the first folding walkway bracket. Again, we've been using walkway brackets for hundreds of years and no one's decided to put a hinge on it. So just to give you kind of what the industry has been doing for 30 years with these ICFs, they've always had a vertical brace, not a horizontal brace, which is what we call the Zont system because it's a horizontal bracing system. I won't go too much into the weeds, but these styrofoam blocks in the history, they always settled vertically. So they couldn't use a horizontal brace, which is what you use for all plywood forming. It's always been vertical so that styrofoam wall could settle. But as the ICFs got better and they didn't need to worry about settlement, they didn't change the bracing system for some reason. So like everything, they kept doing the same thing. So industry standard is a brace here, 80 pounds, probably about $300. This is our solution. It's about a third the price. The big thing is it's about a sixth the space. So this would be, 3 of these crates would be required to brace a fairly decent size single family home. And that could be replaced with 1 skid of our bracing system. So it's got huge advantages for ICF dealers and contractors around North America. And it's flexible. So those steel braces, they're set to a specific height. Our system uses dimensional lumber, so you can do short walls or you can do 20-foot high walls. So that was the first product that we created in regards to the ICF, and dealers and contractors love it because it's just efficient and a different way to look at things. And ICFs themselves, like there's an ICF wall. Typically, we were talking about footings earlier. They always have to be, ICF walls are installed on top of a footing. So you have to pour your footings first. Hopefully you're using FastFoot, and then you'll stack your ICF walls on top of that and then brace them. When you're competing against plywood forms, like that photo at the start of the presentation, where they poured the footings and the walls at the same time, throwing wood everywhere, you can't do that with an ICF. So how do we compete against plywood form foundations? We created a monopore system with an ICF. So this kind of puts all of our products together in one system. So you would take any ICF brand, any of the 6 ICFs that are available in your local market. You attach our patented drill adjustable side supports. This allows you to raise and lower that lightweight ICF wall. You attach our FastFoot product, FastFoot footing form to the bottom of the wall. And then you would brace the wall and stake the wall in position with our Zont system. And this allows, so that's basically a cutaway of what you're looking at. This allows the contractor to pour his footings and his wall in one time, which is huge. Because normally you got to pour your footings, you have to get a whole concrete crew to screed the footings, then you have to do a wall layout, then you have to bring the concrete crew out again to finish the ICF wall. So you're probably saving about $3,000 on labor and at least, another $1,000 on footing material. So this gets mechanically attached to the ICF wall and is never removed. So you've got no chance of moisture getting into this home. This will be the driest and most efficient foundation system in the world. There really isn't anything more efficient than this, without sounding too cocky. So that's where those are the 2 products that we've created that have kind of been making waves in the ICF world, which is a niche world right now, but it is growing. The 6 big players they can't keep up with demand producing these styrofoam products. Over here. And then one thing when we were creating all these products with ICFs, we thought to ourselves, why aren't we selling an ICF ourselves? We're developing all these products for this industry. Sorry, you can't actually see this up in here. Over here. There we go. So what we did, we started supplying an ICF ourselves in the local market. So we have a subsidiary of the company called Vancouver ICF. So Vancouver ICF supplies this specific brand of ICF. This is called Nudura. It's one of the 6 brands that is being produced in North America. It was a Canadian company. We feel it's the best ICF out there. And we supply it all around within 4 hours of our head office here in Vancouver. We run training seminars, and we are the biggest ICF supplier in Western Canada. And this is just a side business of what we do. So we understand the ICF industry because we are also an ICF dealer. What's interesting with ICFs and what we do differently is our estimating process. We're the only ones in North America that are producing 3D quotes for our customers. Everyone else is going to a lumberyard and just getting a count of straights and corners, a couple accessories. We're producing 3D layouts. Anything that needs to be changed prior to delivery, we're able to do that. So we're never making errors on site. Our quotes are including footing, concrete volumes, peel and stick deliveries. We estimate delivery trucks. Everything's included. We include our fast foot, our bracing system. Anything that we're supplying is on our estimates. So our estimates are incredibly in depth. So no one's competing with us that way. And what's interesting, I want to talk about, and where the future of Fab-Form is going to be playing into, is this is a listing of all the projects we've supplied over the last 6 years. So any job that's gone out the door here, we're going to be putting it on the map. And it was a little bit more compelling 2 years ago, but what's coming to Canada is or BC at least, is the step code. So anyone that knows about the step code or has heard about it, you've got 5 steps, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Surrey, for instance, is on step code 1, which means that you just need to have an energy advisor. Whistler's on step code 5, which means that you have to build a net zero ready home. So the home has to produce as much energy as it consumes throughout the course of a year. So you'll be able to see Vancouver, we're incredibly popular, West Vancouver, North Vancouver, Squamish, Whistler, Pemberton. We supply every single foundation from Pemberton to Squamish. We are supplying them with the foundation system. Abbotsford, it's coming on board. Chilliwack, it's coming on board. These places are adopting the step code, and in 2 years, this will look like, chickenpox or something of that sort. So that's what big revenue driver for us is, supplying these ICFs. And we're just like any other ICF dealer. There's nothing really important there, but we are going to be making improvements that make it more compelling. And one thing that's interesting, we did make an announcement. This is the Finch Drive development in Squamish. They just started blasting. They're on their 3rd townhome here. But this is the first step 5 development in Canada. So this is a barometer of where construction is going to be going. I think we all know that single family, no one in Canada can afford a single family home anymore. And that's been primarily our market for supplying ICFs just in the local market here. But these projects here are all step 5, which all buildings by 2030, every single building is going to have to build to the standards that these duplexes, these townhomes, and these condos are. And the most cost-effective way for this development to achieve that step 5 for certification is with our products. So by 2030, every home is going to have to be built to these standards, and we have the most cost-effective solution to get there for the below grade process of that construction. So that's an interesting segue into our financial statements. So I'm going to pass this over to Vish.
Thanks, Joey. First of all, I would like to thank Paul and Trevor for organizing the presentation, as well as continuous interest in Fab-Form. So I would like to start this with a forward-looking statement disclaimer. I'm sure your group is familiar with the statement. Starting with the financial performance of the company over the last 10 years, which is analyzed 12-month ended 12-month trailing ended 30th June. So it is important to understand why we're looking at 30th June as well, because we did a year-end change from 31st December to 30th June, which we have already disclosed. And keep that alteration in mind when you actually look at these charts. So before I discuss anything about the revenue, let's look at the business model. So we generate revenue through a range of proprietary products that Joey already explained, and as well as trading ICF, Helix, and related accessories. So which are supported by the product differentiation, cost leadership, better customer relationship management, operational efficiencies, as well as continuous process improvements that we implemented throughout. So this model has proven successful, evidenced by growth in GP margin, net profit margin, as well as cash flow conversion over the last 5 years. So I would like to emphasize the fact that we foresee no significant alteration to this model anytime soon. So looking at the revenue figures in past 5 years, we achieved significant growth in revenue, recording close to 6 million in 2023. And data also shows that healthy results with 40% gross profit margin and also 19% net profit margin. So we have tight control of fixed cost. So you will notice that if you look at the gross profit margin line and the net profit margin, the gap between those two lines keep on widening every year. So that's because we have tight control in our fixed cost. And we do not anticipate a significant change in fixed cost in the near future. So moving to the next, so looking at our financial position, if you look at our asset base, we have healthy financial position with more than 60% of the assets comprising cash and short-term investments in GICs. So, and all the key financial ratios indicate stability and growth potential in Fab-Form. We have no debts, and we aim to release 3 new products, which we have already indicated in our previous reporting as well. And also we disclose in our previous reporting that we are working towards launching a new website that has e-commerce capabilities as well. And what is amazing about all of these is we do all of this with 10 staff, and we constantly working towards getting things done faster and improve all the processes. And we working as a team for a common goal, basically. So looking ahead, we anticipate to maintain our current trajectory for another 2-3 years, boosted by the introduction of new products. Then to get a better financial position in 2 or 3 years' time. So looking at the share structure, so we have very simple share structure with 9.1 million shares outstanding, over 100 million authorized shares. I believe that we are one of those companies with the simplest share structure with positive results. So that have provided stability, that to the share price as well as the growth. So in past 3 years, we observe an uptick in trading value, with shares trading between $2.2 per share and $1.5 per share over the last 52 weeks. And as of December, market capitalization stood at 15 million. We hope the market conditions will get better and more housing starts, hopefully nearby, with the expectation of easing quantitative measures that were implemented to control, actually, to deal with the inflation concerns. So in conclusion, our journey thus far has been marked by resilience, innovation, prudent financial management. So as we look to the future, we remain persistent in our commitment to driving a sustainable growth and delivering a better value to our shareholders. So having said that, I would like to hand over the presentation to Joey for some interesting stuff.
Thanks, Fish. Going forward, what am I excited about? What are we excited about for this year? This is going to be a fairly exciting year for us for two reasons. This is number one, Fast Tube. This is one product we didn't talk about earlier. This is going to change the way that a lot of people are forming concrete columns around the world. So basically, if you take a toilet paper roll, times it by 100, that's how people are forming concrete columns. Most cost-effective way to form a concrete column until Fast Tube came out. So this is a woven polyethylene similar to Fast Foot. When you put concrete into it, that's as long as you have gravity on your side, you will be getting a perfect circular column. So that's the finish that you get. So this product is going to be huge for this company and for people all around the world. So here's what I was talking about. That's 100 feet of 10-inch diameter sonotube. That's in a lumberyard. So that's what they need. That's 100 feet of 10-inch Fast Tube. So it's 1% the space and 10% the weight. If you're one of thousands of lumberyards around North America and you've got all of this space dedicated to 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16-inch diameter columns, all of that wasted space, you can replace it with Fast Tube and free up that space for high value product or higher margin products. There's no money in sonotube. And just if you're in a lumberyard, can you imagine, you got to get two of your guys to unload a 53-foot trailer worth of these things by hand? You have to store them vertically. You can't store them horizontally, otherwise they'll compress. They have to be stored in a dry environment. So if you're a lumberyard, if you're a Menards, if you're a Home Depot, if you're Lowe's, you want to run away from this product as fast as you can. From a contractor standpoint, it's great because space. So they can have 100 feet under the seat of their truck. They don't need to run to a lumberyard to grab a 10-foot column, and they can just cut what they need. So those 10-foot tubes, if you need a 6-foot high column, you're going to cut 40% of what you bought and throw it away. What other product do you buy where you know you're not going to use the whole thing? Buying a steak and eating 30% of it doesn't make any sense. So the other big benefit for a contractor is that it's waterproof. So this thing is not afraid of water. So you could set up a column now and you could pour it in July and it would still perform. If you set up a cardboard tube now and you pour it next weekend, after a little bit of moisture, that concrete column will fail. That's why a lot of lumberyards or on concrete pours are always stressful, because they're setting up the columns as the concrete pump truck is getting there to avoid this issue of wet, soggy tubes. And then this is the big thing. It always comes down to dollar and cents. So this is a calculator that we've got. This is based off of the majority based off of a lumberyard in Missouri that we're working with. This is their pricing, but let's say we've got a 9-foot column, 14-inch diameter, $25 for the hour labor cost. That's pretty conservative these days. Say we've got 10 columns and that cardboard length was a 12-foot column. We have a 10-foot. Fast Tube is going to be, you'd be saving $1,000 using Fast Tube. This is including stripping labor. It takes seconds to strip a column. With the cardboard tubes, you're peeling it away. It can take like 15 minutes to strip a sonotube. So there's huge advantages there to the customer. And then the big thing here, North America is clearly, it's a huge market for that. But what I'm excited about, extremely excited about, is this column form being used in the developing world. In the developing world, this is a pastor that flies around to Haiti and Africa, developing nations building churches. But when he flies into these places, in the past, before finding our product, they would be buying little strips of wood. They would get coat hangers that they would unfold, and then they would twist tie and hope that those twist ties held the pressure of the concrete when they were pouring columns. He was there for Haiti or that wasn't there, but when you don't have reinforced concrete and you're building people on top of each other, bad things can happen. So Fast Tube can solve these problems in these areas where they don't have skilled labor and they don't have forming material for reinforced concrete. So you can imagine in India, South America, Mexico, Anyone's able to staple fast tube to a couple pieces of 2x4, and they can buy the fast tube now, and then they can set them up and they can wait 3 months while they save up money for the cement and the aggregate. They don't have to buy everything at one go. So fast tube's incredibly cheap in the North American market, but fast tube is the first viable, cost-effective forming solution for these markets. We're not competing against sonotube here. We're creating a new avenue for them to form concrete. So this is pretty cool, where they get the whole village together to pour these columns. And that's the big exciting future. So fast tube is going to be huge for us. We're in discussions with 2 of the big commercial concrete accessory suppliers, and they're very excited to bring this to market to their customers. The other thing that we're really excited about for this year, like I said, Vancouver ICF, we just are an ICF supplier. We just sell straights and corners. We've got the most efficient estimating service, but at the end of the day, we're selling someone else's product. This is what we're excited about for this year. Sorry if you can see that. This is a time-lapse video from RDC in Lytton, BC. So this whole video is 45 minutes in the real world. Lytton burnt down 4 years ago, as everyone recalls. And this is the first rebuild of the whole community. So we're not supplying straights and corners anymore. We're supplying prefabricated components. So we're getting involved in the prefab game. So typically, again, they would have poured their footings, slowly creeped around building with the ICF blocks. What we're doing in the future is providing ICF components. So everything is pre-made. We're going to be cutting out windows, installing window bucks. We're going to be installing exterior finishes. Damp proofing materials would be installed prior to delivery. So this was after 3 days. They were able to pour 160 feet of wall. I think that's 12 feet high. And that was done in 3 days. Normally, you're talking 2 weeks, footings and walls. So this is huge for them. And it increases our profitability. And now we're supplying a system. So this is really exciting for us. We are done supplying straights and corners and just marking up someone else's product. We're going to provide a prefabricated system to our local market here. And that's something that we can move and push on into other jurisdictions or other cities later on in the world, later on the timeline. So this is one that's coming up at the end of this month. This is going to be in Vancouver, where we're going to invite the public to view it. And we expect to be pouring concrete potentially the next day. Prefabricated ICF foundations. And we can take this system. I think we maybe talk about it. You were talking about it earlier. Single family is dead. And all of our marketing in the past has been to single family, high performance single family homes. Those are a thing in the past. Townhome developers are going to love a system like this because it's really hard to find insulated concrete crews, installers. Now you don't need an installation crew. Everything's done for you in our manufacturing facility. So that's really going to be exciting for us in the local market, prefabricated foundations that we can approach developers with and solve a lot of their headaches, because these guys have to build to step code 5, and it's going to be expensive for them to make that transition. But we can make it really, really painless. So that's what we're excited about for 2024, those 2 products there. So in conclusion, I'm opening up the floor to you, Paul.
Excellent. That was a fantastic presentation. I got to tell you, we've seen a lot of these. I love what you did with this presentation. Before I start asking questions to Joey and Vish, a reminder, anybody, if you've got a question you'd like me to ask, use the chat function, and then I'll ask that question. Great that we got a chance to see some of the new products. I think that's, I agree. I mean, I used to work in the industry, so I know the issues around some of these products, and especially the fast tube. I think that that could be a real winner for you. I mean, you haven't really put numbers to any of these things in terms of the addressable market. I know that's near impossible to do, but give us a sense, like somebody who doesn't know the industry, those fast tubes that you've got, like what kind of potential do you have for that?
It's hard to get the numbers out of, there's 2 major manufacturers, Sunoco and Griff, Grief. So you guys can look them up, try and get their numbers from them. I was at the World of Concrete in Vegas last week. We didn't have a booth, but I was walking around I asked the main sales guys, and they kept on looking at my badge, like, "Who is this guy? Why are you asking all these questions about sonotube? It's the most boring product ever. Why are you?" I was just asking, what's the biggest diameter? Because we were trying to anticipate our stock levels that we're going to need to supply these guys. What am I trying to say? He wouldn't give me, numbers of lineal feet that they're producing every year. I've tried several ways to get about this, but it's about $1 billion a year industry is supplying and manufacturing those cardboard tubes around the world. That's including Europe, but about $1 billion. So if we can capture, 1%, I think we're going to look pretty good next year.
And I mean, you've commercialized it now. You're actively out there selling the products.
We're ready to go. We're waiting on a few things before we actually go really hard. Matt Reisinger, Reisinger Build. He's got over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. He's going to be doing a release on FastTube coming up shortly. And he wanted to announce it. So some people have seen it on social media via some of our contractors who have been playing around with it. We've asked them not to post it, but they posted things, so the word's gotten out quietly about the product. And so he contacted us. Usually he charges X amount of money to be talking about a product, but they wanted to be first eyeballs on it because you can't form a concrete column with woven plastic.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not going to work. So he wants to be kind of YouTube him, look him up, Matt Reisinger. He wants to announce it.
Yeah, he wants to show himself off there. That's fantastic. How do you sell that product? Like, what's the plan? You mentioned you're changing your website to online sales. I would assume that that's one of the products you want to sell online. But how do you get this to market?
It's interesting. This is the first product. Every single one of our products, FastFoot is a niche product. Lots of our direct products are homeowners that are Googling how to do a footing, and they're like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense." But concrete guys don't Google how to do a footing because they've done it the same way for 30 years. So FastTube's really light. We'll be able to sell direct to consumer and ship it. But this is the first product of all of our products that a lumberyards are going to want to push. It solves a problem. Every one of our other products, a lumberyard could care less about FastFoot. I sell lumber, and it's $300 worth of material on a home. I don't care.
Yeah.
But if I can save how many square feet? So of warehouse space with this product. So direct to consumer, sure, but getting distribution is going to be fairly easy going through all of these lumberyards. White Cap, Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's. They love products where you can just buy it by the foot, right?
Sure.
So this can come on a roll. You buy 6 feet and you check out at the scan for 6 feet only. So that distribution through big guys is going to be fairly easy.
Yeah. And then what are the numbers on it? Like, what do you expect to sell it for, and what's your cost?
Well, it depends on the diameter, but right now we want to be at least half the price of sonotube in every market. So if you look at Hawaii, this is $1.20 a lineal foot. Here in Surrey, a sonotube is $3.70 a lineal foot. In Honolulu, this is $16 a lineal foot. So the biggest driver for sonotube is where it's manufactured because you're shipping air.
Transport, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can produce this for $1.20. I can sell it for $1.20 in Hawaii. I can sell it for $1.20 in Missouri. I can sell it in Mexico for $1.20, all from one location. But numbers for this year, I don't know what are we anticipating sales this way?
Well, I that's not even the question. I really a sense of like what you're going to make for it and what your cost is. Like, what's it cost per foot on average, I guess, or
yeah, let's just call it this just for argument's sake. It used to be $1 a foot. Let's call it $1.20 a lineal foot. And what that is competing up against. We've got great margins on this product, right, Fish?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like any of our products. Anything that we're producing, we wouldn't be doing it unless it was a high value or high margin product for us.
But can you give us a sense? Like, are we talking the same sort of profit margins you see in the other product, or is it?
Yeah.
What kind of profit margins do you expect to get on this?
Fish the numbers down.
Yeah, we're seeing more than 50% of profit margin for each product, each size basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty compelling, and we have a supplier that committed to supply all the materials from Japan. So he visited the supplier visited 3 times our facility to see our operations, and they're very committed.
Gotcha.
Yushi from Japan is a fantastic partner for us. They've been here. We've walked through all of the lumber yards for him to get a gauge of where we're going into. So they're very excited about what we're doing.
Fantastic. And then, I mean, 10 people, you're still relatively small, to sort of really capture the markets you're going after right now. What do you think you still need? Do you need more people? Do you need capital? Do you need,
we need sales. We need sales staff. Going into international markets aggressively is something we haven't done. All right, we've serviced orders that people that find us online are really interested in what we're doing and they're fans, but going aggressively after those markets, we need to bring more people in for that. So that's something that we're going to be needing to do immediately, finding good people, like any company.
Yeah, exactly. But then as far as manufacturing, now the fast tube, you're manufacturing in Japan, but any of these other products, if all of a sudden
no, we're manufacturing here. The material, it's incredibly difficult to weave. I don't want to get too technical, but it's incredibly difficult to weave a material perfectly horizontal, which it needs to be. If the weave is not perfect on this material, you're not going to have a column that's going to be straight. So it's incredibly difficult. And we are manufacturing here, but the raw material is coming.
Okay, gotcha. But then assume tomorrow, or say 6 months from now, all of a sudden business explodes. What do you have to do to increase capacity?
We just have to replicate the existing machinery, which is quite straightforward. So we have in-house designer who's our chief technical officer. He's the one who designed the machine, and he's currently working on a new machine that works with a polymer-based technology. And so we plan to have another machine running parallelly with the current machinery. So the cost we're talking about like 200,000 maximum to set up a new machine. And we do have space, and we will identify the space that in the same warehouse. So we know what we're getting into in terms of the demand, and we are working on it.
Now, look, a lot of your products, I noticed sort of you sell into BC or maybe lower part of BC or wherever, but what kind of international, or let's say outside of BC, what kind of business are you doing there, and is there opportunity to grow? Obviously, these type of products, the fast tube, that's international, but do you have any other sort of goals to move products outside of BC?
South America is our big push for the column form. So from a logical standpoint, who's doing most of the concrete forming in America? It's not Americans. These are people that are coming from South America. It's going to be it's easier to influence a market down there in Mexico. We've met with the trade commissioners in Mexico. Constorama is the biggest lumberyard in Mexico. Lowe's is number 2, and they've got like 12 locations. So Constorama is the Home Depot of Mexico. And speaking with the guys down there in Mexico, if something is 5% less, it's such a price sensitive market. If something is 5% less, they are making the switch immediately. So South America is a huge thing for this product. Fast foot, no chance. Everything is earth form there. Why the hell do you care about moisture in those markets? No. Europe, fast foot, there's a market for fast foot for sure, right? They're building in similar climates that we are. But fast food is a North American product. There's potential for fast food in Europe. The Zont system is following wherever ICFs are gaining momentum. So those are gaining momentum in Europe and America. But South America, you're not going to see an ICF wall.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Ton of sense. Now, you've come out with 2 new products sort of for this year. What does the R&D roadmap look like? Are you still trying to innovate, or are you happy with what you have right now?
I think we need to stop creating new products. I think, but we're not going to. We've got one thing that's in the pipeline, and this is a very long pipe. Well, not very long, but we have some ideas that are interesting. Is concrete the best material to be forming? Do we need to use concrete for below grade structures? We've been doing it for thousands of years.
Sure.
Is filling this full of concrete and putting it underground, is that really the most efficient system that we could come up with?
Mhm.
So we've got
Cool.
some interesting ideas.
Mhm.
They're all going to be around concrete, but being more, being more efficient around them. Can't go too far, but yeah, we're busy. We've got lots of things that we're thinking about.
Gotcha. Let's talk a little bit about the stock and sort of the company itself. There's just over 9 million shares outstanding. What's the insider position? I mean, you guys are still relatively small, so I don't think there's much in the way of institutional ownership, but maybe tell us what the insider percentage is, and then just a general sense of what are the kind of shareholders you have.
Inside the position is around 47%
Okay.
out of 9.1 million. Yeah, so mostly held by Rick and Joey and Elizabeth. I mean, Rick's Fearn family, basically.
Sure. And then, now I personally know a number of shareholders, but what kind of shareholders do you have outside the insiders? Is it people that know the industry? Is it just people that know the product?
You will have people that have been, I've had shocks for 15 years. The first person to use fast food in Colorado, and as soon as I loved it, I bought the shares, and I'm still holding on to it. So we'll have guys that have been with us forever, and they're not moving, and they just like the idea, and they fell in love with the idea, and they fell in love with Rick too, because he's this crazy inventor who decided to go all in on this. So yeah, we'll get calls, or we've had guys that have just come in like, my dad had this share, he just passed away, I wanted to see what this is all about.
Right.
So we went through 10 years of financials there on that little chart, Bish, but we've been around for a while, and there's been some scary times, right? And we've survived a bunch of terrible. 2008 wasn't fun.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of terrible years, and having that public company was able to get us through a lot of scary times too. So I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but there's lots of people that are still invested.
Sort of long-term shareholders that you've almost inherited in some ways. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so you spoke about 2008 was challenging and things like that. But what challenges you now? What sort of keeps you up at night, if anything?
2 kids.
I hear you. I hear your pain. Yeah.
What keeps us up at night? It's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like interest rates is like, I thought that was going to affect our business a lot more, and it didn't. I mean, it did. Clearly, you can see that it did, but I thought it was going to be a lot more detrimental. We are heavily tied to the construction market, but if things really did hit, they never did. I thought they would. It's always doom and gloom. We're always thinking a bit about that. But even if they did, it wouldn't be a terrible thing for us, because the good companies always come out stronger out of those events. And anyone that's using our products is typically a little bit more forward thinking. They would get out of it. They would come out of it. So what's keeping me up at night is, I think, like a lot of companies, just finding good people potentially and growing safely, not overextending yourself. Because Vish has been very good at financially making sure we're not doing anything too stupid or spreading ourselves too thin.
Yeah, other challenging thing is basically when you're introducing a new product, it's very difficult to convince traditional ways of doing things, right? So if you look at what Joe was trying to explain from 10 years ago, it was difficult to convince someone to adopt fast food, and it took a lot of years to get to where we are now. But going forward, we know what we have to do in terms of get the news out using influencers. There's so many other ways that we can spread the word to do our marketing. So that'll be a challenging activity for us for sure, but it'll be more faster than it used to be a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, construction industry is notorious for being slow adopters of new technology, but then once it's ingrained, it's hard to displace. So I've certainly seen that, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. So the industry, this is a cyclical industry. I would agree. I think a lot of people expected this downturn to be a lot more severe than we're seeing. But what are you seeing anecdotally out there? Are things improving? Or, are builders starting to get a little bit more active? What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, we're a really good barometer for the housing market.
Mm-hmm.
You can't build a house without a footing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say 6 months ago, we would get, when I talk to builders, like, oh, yeah, excavating companies are calling me looking for work.
Mm-hmm.
There was like lots of people were letting go as finishing carpenters because they know that they weren't going to be needing them in 10 months time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of turned around. I think the general consensus, at least in this local bubble here, but we talk with red states and blue states down in America.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it's blue state people are scared and depressed. Like it's back in 2008, people aren't building. Red states are happy-go-lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And in the local little area here, I think a lot of the worries have subsided quite a bit. So I think it depends where you are in North America, is what I would say, and the feeling that I get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alberta's still building quite a bit. Ontario, things aren't looking great, Joe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, that's the nature of this industry too. It's always local, right? There's always a different market and different dynamics there.
yeah, and it's pivoting. That's why this prefab thing, I'm super excited to approach developers who would never look at an ICF before.
Mm-hmm.
The government's going to force them to look at an ICF, and now they're only going to look at us because solving all of these headaches. So approaching a different market. It's always been single family with the ICF side of our business, and that has to pivot. So we're ready to pivot with it.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I've heard you talk about the sort of prefab components here.
You got the exclusive there, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I'm seeing more and more of that, right? I think the industry, there's the lack of skilled labor out there and all these things that you mentioned in terms of the conditions that are almost pushing into prefabrication of a lot of different components. So I'm really happy to hear that that's that's a product you guys have.
If talk to anyone in construction, what's the worst part of any foundation, of any build? Worst part is concrete work. You can't find guys that want to do it anymore. You'll have some guys that are 50 and they're slamming hammers and they're still loving it, and then everyone else below them is not there anymore.
Exactly. No, you nailed it. Okay, so you got a bit of a problem now. You got cash. Cash is building up on the balance sheet, and how do you allocate capital as you go forward now? Like like where do you spend money now that you're starting to generate some and pile it away?
The big thing, I don't think Vish really went into it enough. The new machinery that we're going to be having we are updating. This isn't the final version too. We're updating, and there's a lot of R&D involved in making this thing. So the more difficult this thing is to produce, the happier I am. If this is the hardest thing in the world, that's what I want. I want this to be the hardest thing to make cost effectively. So we are going to need a lot of money or cash to get this thing humming along, the improvements that we're making here, and we're going to need the cash to find people to get the word out.
So, I mean, over and above what you have right now, do you think, do you go to market and raise money? Do you see a chance for that?
Bish?
No, we don't need to go to market. We have sufficient cash flow to fund the capital requirement.
Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, well, let's take some questions that we've got here. Okay, we've got Jennifer says, it looks like most of your business is in BC other than Uganda. Or that other than the Uganda thing you showed us. I remember you previously talked about Mexico. What are your plans for geographical expansion? I mean, you touched on that a little bit, but when we maybe a little more detail.
Yeah, I mean, it's product specific, right? Mexico would just be fast food, and fast foods, Mexico, you need to talk to a certain couple people, and it's like, God, what is it? Everyone drinks Coca-Cola in Mexico, right? You see those signs everywhere. Next time you're in Mexico, it's only one company, Consturama, and they own, I think they're owned by, God, what's the company that produces the cement? It's just one company. It's really, it's kind of interesting. It's a monopoly down there on the supply of these materials. Interesting story. I don't know if this is what her question was, but the manufacturers of sonotube in Mexico hate it. They love making, so they're doing toilet paper rolls, they're doing fireworks, they're doing sonotubes, right? Anything that's in a cardboard core, they're producing. Why they hate producing the sonotube is they'll load up a trolley or a tractor trailer full of sonotube, and the driver will get pulled over by the cartels. They'll kill the driver, dump all the sonotube on the ground, and there's no value in it, and drive off with the truck. And it's the logistics in Mexico are not like here. So they can get concrete. The guy was so excited. He's like, I can get this former anywhere in Mexico. It can go on the back of a bike. I don't need these big, huge. There's all these little benefits that we're not talking about in a market like Mexico. So it depends on an international scale. This is an international product. You know, but we're just scratching the surface for other products here in North America. It's not like there's we haven't even touched what we need to with our other products here locally.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Okay, next question is, what dollar value do you see or do you feel the South American market can be annually? I guess on the fast tube, yeah.
So
What could it be?
we did a calculation based on a financial model that we created a few years ago. So what we looked at was the housing starts and the population figures. Then we did estimate number of square meters that need put in terms of the columns. Then the estimation was to quantify the maximum value that we can actually generate by selling fast tube. So by looking at in order to be conservative, we looked at like if we can penetrate 1 to 2% per annum from that market, we're looking at 1 million in first year, then grow up to 5 million over 3 years if you penetrate 5% in different markets like Argentina, India, then those big markets like Mexico, United States. So that's what we looked at, and so there's a lot of potential to fast tube in terms of the value. We believe the sonotube market is worth billions of dollars, and we just need to penetrate small
percentage points.
Percentage to enter, then boom.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay, so we got a question relating to the change in management. I know the answer, but also a change in auditor. Now, Vish, we spoke about this earlier. Why don't we start with the auditor first? Why was there a change in auditor recently?
Yeah, so the Culver and Company was involved as auditor, I think close to since 2022, if I remember. Sorry, 2002.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So he indicated that he's retiring a year ago, I think 2020. So since then we started looking at new auditor appointment. So then we started getting proposals and find new auditor for 31st December was really a headache for us, and we understood because 31st December is a busy season for almost all the audit firms, and our financial statements very straightforward, simple balance sheet, and it doesn't need a lot of time and effort to audit that. So that's why we decided to change the year end to 31st December, 30th
Basically,
June.
supply and demand.
Supply
Trying
demand.
to find someone in December. What they're charging is ridiculous. We're a financially prudent company. It made sense for us to. It's a little complicated and hard to explain, but at the end of the day, that's the reason why.
No, it makes complete sense. And listen, I can attest to that. I've seen a lot of cases where either smaller firms are being dropped because there just isn't enough manpower to deal with a lot of these audits. And you do not want to be doing an audit in sort of with a December year end, because that's when they're extremely busy, and that's where they charge.
And also
the
regulatory environment, because not all the small firms can do listed company audits because there are certain requirements to be followed in terms of the independence and the rotation, number of partners and stuff. So we looked into all of this. That's why we took that decision. And so now we are getting into the change. We recently announced that the current auditor has resigned. So we're working on appointing new auditor, and we'll be having a result by end of February.
Yeah, no, perfect. And change in CEO. Maybe Joey, explain the change in CEO.
Well, Rick Fearn, my father, has been the CEO since its inception, and I guess he just liked me more than anyone else. No, I think it was just a natural fit. I know the industry inside and out. I know our products, and I know what our customers are looking for.
Yeah.
And I'm get pretty excited about it. I have some vigor, and I'm excited to take on the role and drive us into a more profitable, get some more eyeballs on this company. I think I've probably got the ability to do that. And yeah, it's exciting, and I do like the industry that it's in. I don't know. It is an interesting industry to be in. It's frustrating. You know, I had a lot more hair before I started working here. But I'm excited for the challenge and looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's great to see innovation in an industry like this. I mean, it's been so lacking and so many people have tried, but it's good to see you guys got a foothold here. Okay, so we got another one here. It says, where do you see the company in 5 years? Is there an end game here?
There's no end game. No, I don't see.
Usually somebody asks that, it's like, is there an exit strategy? Are you expected to sell to a bigger entity? Are you
No, I've seen what happens working with big entities. I don't want this company to go that route. So I do not see, never say never, but I do not see us working with a larger firm or things, or needing that sort of support. Support's great to have. I think we're going to have some really interesting partners going forward, especially with these new products that we're developing are going to be working with industries that we've never worked with before. We've got an interesting future with the completely different industries that we have never worked with before. So that's going to be interesting. But I see no end game. I'm still relatively young, despite having no hair.
Good. You'll be around for a while. That's good. Okay, so question, are they currently shipping orders of the columns forms to Mexico? So I think the answer is no, but it sounds like it's pretty imminent.
We've been sending samples to this one gentleman who wants to stop producing sonotube as soon as he possibly can. So they're doing testing right now. We got photos and stuff, but nothing to announce. No.
Gotcha. Next question, how many stories can you do in ICF?
100. You're limited only by the Burj Khalifa could have been done with ICF, so doesn't matter.
So really no limitations. Gotcha. And then Jeremy says Cemex. Is it Cemex the kind?
There you go. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
thank you, Jeremy.
Thought it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cemex owns Construrama.
Yeah.
So they are in the business of selling concrete. This helps them sell concrete.
Exactly. They don't care what it's in as long as they sell it. Yeah.
Next time anyone's in Mexico, I don't know if anyone's listening, but you look at the construction procedure. They'll be doing 4 columns, 4 to 6 columns. This is just a simple box, the structure they're building. They'll build the columns. They'll have rebar coming out of the columns, and then they'll form some sort of slab system. Then they'll do the next one, and then the next floor. And they'll do 3 floors that way. What if you could pour a concrete column that's 30 feet high? What if you could do that? We have the potential of actually changing building practices too with this, because you can't pour a 30-foot high sonotube. You can't do it.
Right.
You're not going to bring in steel columns that are 30 feet long. You think you're going to truck that into Mexico? What if you could pour a 30-foot column?
Cool.
Anyways,
very cool.
I won't go in.
I get it. I get excited because I've seen it all. Okay, so is there a moat or IP to keep your competitors from using your tech?
Yes, depending on which product. Our monopore system is still patented. FastFoot no longer is, but we are making,
sound bracing, and one of the new products actually we published the patent application. It's already there, so everyone can see it.
So sorry, you patented is it the tube that you patented or
no,
the tube? Go ahead, Vish.
Yeah, the monopore, the extended version of monopore site support.
Okay, gotcha.
But the tube itself, right now, this version of the tube is not. So I welcome a copycat to come in today and help me market this easier.
Right.
I want them to do that. I cannot wait for someone to copy this. So I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen within like 2 years. Like, oh, great, copycat.
Sure.
When they come in and a copycat comes in and tries to fight us on simple margins, we've got a really compelling advancement that will be patented. I can't get into too much, but
Gotcha.
please copy it right now. Whoever's listening, let's go.
Yeah, there you go. Run out and do it now. Okay, well, listen, as we get to wrap up here, just a few more questions, and what I always like to ask, you know, as investors, we're watching your business. What do you think are the most important either catalysts or maybe even metrics to watch that we should pay attention to see that you guys are sort of hitting and executing as you say you will?
Sales are going up, cost of goods are going down.
Okay.
We're a simple company. We're not, you know, we're not replacing an entire industry with an AI algorithm or something.
Mm-hmm.
We are bare bones. This is a better mousetrap, and we're producing it better than we were last year.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
I think in our industry, that's it, really.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're tied to housing starts in whatever form they're at, but clearly there's something more here. You're getting market share, irregardless of the housing starts. You seem to be still, you know, growing your share of these different products. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say,
Yeah.
and probably every year it's going to get easier for us.
Mhm.
Every year that a dinosaur dies, or that 10 dinosaurs die, there's one new forming contractor that's coming in, and he's checking his phone all
Yeah.
day like this.
Yeah.
You know, he's not as efficient as the 10 dinosaurs, but it's easier for me to reach.
Mm-hmm.
So every year I see it getting easier and easier, where I can update a product, give Mark Zuckerberg, you know, $1,000 and reach every single young kid that's slinging a hammer around.
Yeah.
I can't do that with dinosaurs, and dinosaurs are still working.
Yeah.
Thank God, because otherwise nothing would get done.
You explain it very well. I like the way you picture this. It's exactly the case in this industry. There's a lot of dinosaurs that control the industry still, and one by one they're slowly leaving.
Sorry,
Joey, yeah.
the dinosaurs, but yeah.
No, that works. Key takeaway, like what should we all walk away with really understanding about the business? You want to make sure that everybody knows.
I mean, from an investor standpoint, we got 9 million shares.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, lots of small cap companies in our situation, you know, we could have 100 million shares, but we don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, take away that we believe in what we're doing. There's no smoke and mirrors here. We're an open book, and we're just trying to do the best job that we can for ourselves and our shareholders, basically.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Fish, you got anything?
So yeah, almost all the employees are owners as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're working hard and, you know, put their best to get the company to provide results. Yeah, so
No, perfect.
There you go.
So listen, if somebody wants to know more, if they have questions around the business, how best to reach you guys?
Well, I'm open book. You can send us an email, joey@fab-form.com, like our website, vish@fab-form.com. And I've unfortunately always got my cell phone on me, so you can call me there anytime. Perfect.
Well, this is great. I love the fact we managed to catch up with you here. We've been speaking with CEO Joey Fearn, Fab-Form Industries, also with CFO Vish Kumar. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today, and really look forward to keeping up to date and catching up with you guys in the future.
Thank you, Paul and Trevor.
okay, thanks, Trevor.